Brilliant. Well, good morning. Great to be here. For those of you who don't know me, my name is, and for those of you that do, my name is Chris Goldsbrough, and I'm a Sapphire Manager with Forever, having joined the business all the way back in 1998, nearly 22 years ago, following a 25-year successful corporate career. And what I wanted to do this morning was to, start by telling you a true story, because there was one moment in August 99, in fact, when I had a bit of a light bulb moment, a lot of a light bulb moment, and that just one moment created a shift that really set off a chain of events that led us to go from £500 a month within 2 years to £5,000 a month, and to achieving all the incentives. And I thought if I could just share that, when I was asked to talk about incentives and their power and how they work, and how important our mindset is, I thought if I could just share what happened to me and what we did, then you could do the same if you decided that you wanted to. And of course, achieve everything even faster than we did. So, August 99. It was one of those lovely English summer days, wet, damp, cold, horrible, and I was earning about £500 a month. I'd got to manager, my business had dropped back because I'd taken my foot off the pedal, and I was nowhere near where I wanted to be. And I knew the end goal. The end goal was to get my husband out of his job, was to have the lifestyle, the time, the freedom and the income to have a great life, but I was absolutely nowhere near achieving that. And I got up this August morning and I was feeling more despondent than ever, because a lot of the people I knew were actually jetting off to New York for what was then called the Super Rally, which is now the Global Rally. And I hadn't been that bothered about it because I hadn't actually looked to qualify for the Super Rally, because it was to America and I wasn't that keen on America, to be fair. And get me. And I travelled a lot to the States with my job. I used to work for an American company, and so just didn't appeal to me. And that morning as I got up and I was getting ready and looking at another day of trying to push my business forward whilst remaining in my comfort zone, I thought, I could be going to New York. And actually, that might be better than being in the Midlands on a wet, cold August morning. And it suddenly occurred to me that there I was, £500 a month, nowhere near getting where I needed to be. And that if I'd actually pushed my business, gone for the incentive, which was 1,500 cases, and still is, to get at level 1 for the rally, well, America wasn't that bad, but actually my business would be turning over a lot of money and I'd be earning a lot more money, and maybe we'd be just that fraction away from Alan being able to give his job up. And it was that mind shift. It was when I suddenly realised the difference between the prize and the reward. So, a prize, the award that's given to recognise achieving an incentive. The reward is what you get back, the value given in return for your actions. And it really was a light bulb moment, and I hear people talk all the time. I've heard it said about chairman's bonus, I've heard it said about any of the incentives that we run is, I don't want an Apple Watch, or I've already got an iPod. And I mean, we used to do incentives for umbrellas. So, you didn't have a yellow umbrella. But it isn't about the prize, it is the reward of going for an incentive. And it isn't just the big incentives. So, for example, the Global Rally, yes, it could be in whatever country. I remember the absolute groans when they said it was the UK. I can't remember were we in Africa, and they said it's the UK next year. And what? I was stood next to a Scandinavian lady, and she said, they're yoking. I went, no, they're not yoking. It is coming to London. But you see, again, that was that focus, wasn't it? It was the focus on the prize, not the reward of building the volume that is going to change your business. I've heard people say about chairman's bonus, oh, you know, it's a lot of work because I'm only going to get about £4,000. What? You know, it isn't about the £4,000. It's what you will do to your business, what it will do to your monthly income, what it will do to your team to be leading the way. And so when an incentive comes out, it's so important for us and for our teams that we look at that incentive and we go for it, whatever it is, because it's the reward we're looking for and not the prize. So how do incentives work? Well, they work because they inject a sense of urgency. They inject excitement. And what I love about the incentives now that we have is that they all slot into each other. There's a real building block. When you achieve one, that leads you to the next, that leads you to the next, that leads you to the next. They grow your business, they're great fun, and it's always about teamwork. Because what you do, your team will do. The great thing about the little incentives, achieving those little incentives, gives you confidence, gives everyone confidence, gives people belief that I can win something, that I can qualify. And so we can take that next step. If we take the Making Waves incentive that finishes today, in fact, how many of us have looked at it, know it, have been working towards it, have been promoting it within our teams? I know people who have just only woken up yesterday and added up how many points they've got. Whereas when I looked at the Making Waves, I knew we needed to get to that top level, we needed to promote a supervisor. Sadly, we haven't promoted a supervisor yet, but we have someone who's done base month for supervisor. And so we'll have a supervisor in December. Does that make sense? If I hadn't even looked at the Making Waves, I wouldn't have had that urgency to keep going, keep pushing, and to keep that momentum in the business. So let's look at the big ones. The yellow suitcase. You know, when somebody loves the prize and the reward, don't they get motivated? And so the 4cc Club, of course, is the first incentive that everybody in the team needs to go for. That's what we need to promote. The team building incentive. I realised that if I wanted to get to the bigger incentives of the rally, the chairman's bonus, I needed to be recruiting. And I found that very difficult. When I started my business, I was really, really excited. But I struggled because there were two things I didn't want to do. I didn't want to sell any product to anybody, and I didn't want anybody to know what I was doing. And we raise a laugh now, but that is absolutely the truth. And I tried to build my business without doing either of those two things because it made me uncomfortable. What I wanted was a ready-made team and a ready-made customer base. And if somebody had given me that, I'd have flown. So I had to get over myself and learn to do the things I was uncomfy with. And so that team building incentive, sponsoring 24 people, we made that a minimum. In my first year in the business, I sponsored 6 people. I got to manager sponsoring 6 people because I worked alongside them and got as much volume out of them as I possibly could. And it got me to manager. But after that, my business collapsed because I couldn't sustain doing all the work for all 6 of them, and they weren't interested. So networking's about a lot of people doing a little bit. And so the team building incentive and promoting that through the team was really what kick-started our business. We only used to have a 100 club. Now we've got a 50, a 70, a 100 club. Again, making sure, particularly as managers in the business, that 50 cc's minimum. But when I looked at all of these, I realised 125 case credits, I could qualify for everything. I remember Jane saying, just think about it, get to manager, 60 case credits, 70 case credits, and then go for 125 and you'll tick everything off. You'll have a few extra things to do for some of the bigger incentives, but that's what I mean about building blocks. They go one after another after another. So the 50, 70, 100 club, once you're in a manager, the 50, that has to be the benchmark. And again, because we make it our benchmark, That's got to be the minimum for our open business. And so we take action every single month to make sure we're hitting that 50. We don't want to stay at 50, we want to get to 100. But if you don't even have it on your radar, you haven't got that sense of urgency, you're not taking the actions that you need in order to move to that next level. The CAR program, 50, 100, 150. It doesn't need to stop there. We've got level 2, level 3. Eagle Manager now fits in directly after that. We didn't used to have Eagle Manager. We used to do a pretend chairman's bonus instead, where you qualified for everything for chairman's bonus except having a manager in your downline. And then the Eagle Manager program came out, which really replicated that, but better, because you got yet another prize, but the reward of going for Eagle is a long-standing, sustainable business. Global Rally, chairman's bonus. So those are the bigger ones, but what leads up to that, what helps us achieve those, are just the extras. All those little incentives. These are just what we've had this year. Can you believe it? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 incentives, 8 mini incentives that when we go for, and if you're new in the business today and you're in the room, these aren't the same every year, but there's new all the time coming around. It's by taking every single incentive, by promoting it to the team, getting everybody involved. That's where the reward comes. Everybody has a sense of urgency. That's how we click into momentum. And that's what makes a difference. And that's what I realised that August day. And that's when I decided that I was going to get to the next global rally, it was Super Rally, wherever that was going to be. And that's when I understood what Jane had kept saying to me. Jane Leach, Diamond Manager, kept saying to me, Rex told her, win everything. And he meant win everything. Don't go for it if you don't like the prize. Go for it even if you don't like the prize, because it is that reward that comes with it. But we have to start with the end in mind. So for me, the end in mind was the chairman's bonus check. It was all those big incentives. It was the chairman's bonus check, growing my monthly income, but focusing on that 125. Because again, we've got so many incentives. How many of us have written our goals and we just write them all down? And then we don't achieve them, and next year we write them all down again. And then the next year we write them all down again. We've all done it. And so there's too many things to focus on. So for me, the big focus is always the 4 CCs, minimum 24, so the team building incentive, minimum 24 a year to sponsor, the 100 Club, and you'll be there. Because you'll be in momentum when you get to that level that will push you to the chairman's bonus level. So start with the end in mind and work backwards. But the truth is, it is about that vision, and having a goal, writing a goal, that's what takes the courage. Because I found I never wrote my goals down. My goal when I joined the business was to give up my job. And Jane would say, what else? And I'd say, just want to give up my job. And, well, you need to do a goal book. No, I don't need to do a goal book. I know what I want. I just want to give up my job. And then when I gave up my job, I wanted to get Alan out of his job. So once I had the courage to actually write down exactly what I wanted, when I had the courage to say, okay, enough's enough, draw a line, I want the chairman's bonus, I want to go to the rally, wherever it is. Once I wrote all those things down, then it gave me the courage to act, because I'd been open about it. I'd told people that this was actually on my goal board. I had to stop rationalising, I'm not trying to qualify for the Super Rally because I don't like America. It's just an excuse, one of the many excuses. And so writing them down in mind and having that courage to do that will give you the courage to act. So that's what I did. I did my first goal book, dream board, vision statement, whatever you want to call it. I put mine in a book, and it was the year 2000. that I was going for the car program. So August 99, I made the decision, and I said I'll give myself till September 2000. I still don't get how this works, but it works. When you put things into pictures, the universe delivers. And I wanted a silver BMW. It was the millennium, the new decade, start of a brand new decade. Don't know if you remember, but all cars were silver. Everybody had a silver car. And I put that down for, you probably can't read it there, but I put September 2000. I thought that would give me enough time. Didn't want to be too ambitious. And in fact, we qualified for that in October. And I rang the garage and said, I'd like a silver 3 Series saloon and coupe. And he said, well, no problem, but, can't do a silver one. And I said, no, I want a silver one. He said, there's just no silver cars. There's a waiting list. I said, silver one. And he said, well, I'll do what I can. So I said, no, I want it in 3 weeks because it was the success day. And he rang me back. He was really thrilled. He said, I can't believe it. I've found it. He said, only thing is it's black. I said, no, silver in the book. He said, what book? I said, you don't need to know that. It's just silver in the book. I'm having a silver one. It took him another 4 days, and he rang up and said, somebody's just given a back order on a 3 Series coupe silver. How does that work? How does that work? So I really urge you to, I know you've probably heard this many times before, but to do a dream book, do a goal book, and to keep it up to date. Because I've also done them when I thought I wanted things, and then I've looked at them and thought, that doesn't do it for me anymore. I've moved on. That isn't really what's important to me now. And the power of this was really brought home to me when we renovated a house, and we did it all in one go. Every wall came down, so we had to decorate and furnish every single room all at the same time. And I thought the only way we're going to be able to do that is to have a book like this, have a book for every room, so we could go in the shop and say, right, this is the kitchen, and this is the colour it's going to be, and this is the bedroom, and this is the lounge. And after we'd done the whole project, people had come and say, oh, how did you do that in one go? And we said, oh, we just had a book. And we got the book out, and we'd bought things that were in that book that we didn't even know. So, for example, there was a picture of a lounge scene, and I'd torn it out of a magazine because of the flooring. And in that picture, there was a mirror that I'd never even noticed. And we'd been away to York for the weekend, bought that mirror, and it was hanging in our bathroom. We, in another picture in a dining room, they had a globe, of all things, of semi-precious stones. We went to Greece on the European Rally. We'd gone over to Hydra for a week's holiday, and we bought that globe. We'd no idea. So that's the power of putting things into pictures, because you may not even consciously know, but your subconscious does. And if I can get what I want by sticking pictures in a book, much to my husband's disgust when he found out he was working and I was at home sticking pictures in a book, why not do it? So important. And as you go into next year, if you're looking at the same goals as this year, then I would change your dream book. Even if it's the same goal, change it, change the photo, change the image. Because if you're looking at something that you've looked at before, this is what happens to me. When I look at something I've been looking at for before, my thought is, I didn't get it last year. So it needs to be a different picture. It needs to be maybe the same goal, but it needs to look different. So it re-energizes as you go forward. So we didn't have the internet back then, can you believe it? So it was all about getting magazines and tearing pictures out. And this is the rally. Going through the old photos, I have to tell you, Rosita, we had some fun. Did we have some fun? But this was our very first rally in Vancouver. So for my dream book, I didn't know where the rally was going to be. And so what I did was I bought 2 photo albums and stuck the sticker on the front saying USA Super Rally 2000, 2001, 2002. So I just had 3 empty books. But that said to me, I need to be there and I need to be putting those photos in when I come back. Oh, look at that. how posh we looked. Chairman's bonus. The photo that I had in my book was of me with Jane's cheque. I couldn't find it when I put this presentation together, but that was our very first cheque, £4,766.75. And 20 years ago, that was a lot of money. That was a lot of money. And just some of the other cheques, because we made a commitment that we would do chairman's bonus every year. Not for the money even. Once we'd done it, we did it because we wanted the team to follow. Sadly, we didn't do it last year. It wasn't for the want of trying. First time in 18 years we hadn't done it. But it didn't matter. We went right to December the 31st to see if we could make it happen. So it won't always work. What we want doesn't always come to fruition. But if we don't start with the end in mind, then it will never ever be achieved. And I think chairman's bonus is about the bigger picture, because it isn't, everybody says it's not about the money. Actually, the first time you get a chairman's bonus cheque and you all line up at the back of the stage waiting to go on, they give you a little paddle with a number on, and everybody's desperate to make sure they're not the first one, because that's the lowest cheque. When you get your first cheque, you don't care. You don't care if you're the first one. You're just great to be there. But after that, you want to be as far back as possible, because those are the bigger cheques. But it does get like that. It is not about picking up that cheque. It's about doing it. It's about being a chairman's bonus qualifier and other people in the team being able to do the same. So if the bigger incentives don't float your boat, if you think, well, that's not why I'm in forever, you've got to think about the people that you're bringing into the team, the people that you're leading the way for, because it doesn't matter about what other leaders do. The people in your team will follow what you do. And when you get a cheque, it's great, but when someone in your team gets a cheque, that's what makes all the difference. So have the bigger picture. You know, seeing people pick up their cheque. These are from South Africa, when we had the most chairman's bonus qualifiers that we'd ever had. And just to see their faces is worth doing chairman's bonus. However small the cheque, however big the cheque, it's having that bigger picture. So what were the results of that one decision? In August, I had that mindset shift, and went to work. I determined that I would do everything that I was asked to do, however uncomfortable it was, and that I would consistently do the activity. Now, don't get me wrong, I was not, before August, I wasn't sat around doing nothing. I was really, really busy being busy. I was really busy doing anything that didn't involve income-producing activity. Babysitting people. I actually checked my diary. I checked where I was spending the time. Bob said to me, why don't you look where you're spending your time? Because I couldn't believe that I was so busy and wasn't achieving anything. And I was building the business supposedly part-time, and yet I was spending over 30 hours a week in the car. 30 hours a week. And that was because I was driving past millions of people who I could have asked to join the business to find one that I wanted to talk to miles away, because we didn't have the internet. We only had a phone, a car. So how are you spending your time? So when I made that decision, I had to say, okay, how am I spending my time? And what am I going to do different? And so I did just that, put a plan together and went to work. And in the January 2000, we had the Flying Start incentive. So the first one of those little incentives. So I'd made the decision to go for everything, win everything, and went to work. And over the January to March, put our business into momentum. We hit the top level of the Flying Start, and suddenly people were following. People were joining, they were following, because we were going for it too. So in the June, we promoted our first manager. £500 about £500 our cheque was, I say cheque because we used to be paid by cheque, £500 our cheque was in the August. January we were on 850, so had grown the team, had grown the cheque a bit. Then the Flying Start incentive, and we promoted our first manager in June 2000. Then in the August, I don't know why I'm looking up there because it's down here. In the August, we hit car plan level 1 and just continued to do. The focus was on 100 Club, and we did that in the September. And the business, because we were doing all the incentives, we were doing the activity, we were in momentum. And 100 Club stayed consistent right the way through. We did 100 Club for 6 years consistently until one day I took my eye off the ball and we did 98.4 case credits. Missed it by 1.6. Got to stay on it. So we missed it for a month and then went back into the 100 Club for another 3 years. But that 100 Club stayed consistent even when we promoted our second manager. And that's because the 100 Club has been absolutely the minimum. Now they've invented 50, 70, 100, so you can stay in the club if you're 50, but the 100 is still where it's at, because when you're doing 100 case credits open business, you're earning a lot of money. You're earning a lot of money and you are building a seedbed for future leaders. So very, very important. So 100 Club stayed consistent. We went senior manager in the March. We did the car plan. I didn't know you didn't have to stay at level 1 for 3 years. As soon as you do the volume, you go to level 2 or level 3. So from August 2000 to December, we did all 3 levels of the car plan. So in just 2 years, £5,000 a month, chairman's bonus of 4,766, Alan out of his job, all from one moment of saying, it's got to change. It's got to change, and I'm going to use the incentives. I'm going to use that win everything attitude. We've all got a choice. We can sit on the sidelines. We can say, oh, it's not for me. I don't like that. I don't like what they're offering. I've already got an iPad. I've already got a watch. I've already got a brolly. I've already got a yellow suitcase. If they gave you a suitcase every year, we'd have a whole fleet of them. It's not about the prize, it is about the reward. And so there comes a time when, if your goal is big enough, it's time to say, I want to get involved. I want to get involved in the game. And I urge you, as we go into this new decade, it was a surprise to me actually when I looked, because I thought, oh my goodness, it was a new decade. 2 decades ago, how did that happen? But as we go into this new decade, there has never been a better time to build a forever business. I didn't know, but I joined the business in a recession and saw phenomenal growth in 2 years. I can't see the UK coming out of a recession anytime pretty soon. This is the time to build our business when people need it. Pension crisis, we haven't even started yet. You know, we haven't scratched the surface. I'm seeing more and more people we're talking to saying, what are we going to do about the future? Where are we going to get our income? So I urge you that now really is the time. Get off the sidelines, get in the game, set some goals, put those goals down into a dream book. Don't have the same goals as last year, but make a plan. Even if it is the same goal, make it look different. Focus on something different. One goal that will give you everything. For me, as I say, it was that 100 Club, that global rally, 125 cases a month, and everything else ticked into place. So, I think, So, there are 3 kinds of people, and I hope I've encouraged you today to be one of those that goes out and makes it happen. To be honest, when you believe you can, you're halfway there. So, decide, make the decision, make the plan, go to work, make it happen, and then this time next year or this time the year after, you can be up here talking about the incentives and how you came here at the start of a new decade and made a difference too. So we've got a few minutes. If anybody's got any questions, I'm happy to take those. Whilst we do that, or before we do that, we have got a little surprise, and we haven't got a full room, so maybe you could look under 2 chairs, but we have got some very special golden tickets. underneath the chairs. So you have to have a scramble round. And if you've got a golden ticket... Oh, stand up. We got one golden ticket here. Anybody else with a two golden tickets? Stand up, guys. 3 golden tickets. If you've got a golden ticket, stand up. That's great. 3. Any more golden tickets? 4. Okay, look at that. Everybody's scrambling under the entire row to get. I don't know how many there are, so I can't even tell you that. Excellent. So if you've got a golden ticket, then you're already a winner. And any time today, you can go to the product store and they'll have a free gift for you. I don't know what it is. How exciting is that? So you've already proved to yourself you can win something. And you can go and get a lovely gift from Forever. Now, the other exciting thing, you heard it here first, is that pretty much a replica of 1999 is that in January, we have a brand new incentive. It's going to be a global incentive. Can't tell you any more. But if you now make your plans, you've got to get your plans in place, your goals in place, your plans in place now, you'll be able to hit the ground running with this new incentive, which will run January to March, and we'll click in again to all the other small and all the other large incentives. So never been a better time. Anybody got any questions? No? Yes? Yeah, I had to start from scratch because I had all the people that I went manager in April, and by August, let me just go back. I think I had where was that? So April '99, I went manager in March, and at 31st, at the end of April, I had 11 team members, and I was doing 35 case credits. So by August. It was somewhere in between the two, so probably they were all doing a little bit, but there was nobody who wanted to build a business because I'd sort of persuaded them to join and said I'd do everything for them. They were all people that I knew, and so I ran around all over the country because most of my family live a distance, and they were nearly all my family. And so when we got to manager, it was just like, I thought, oh, I'm exhausted, and they were too. And they were like, oh, it's not for me. And so I had to start again. But by August, I was just, because I wasn't going for anything. I'd got to manager, I'd arrived. So I got to manager, I'd got nothing to go for. The incentives were too big. They were too far away. And I didn't want to go to America anyway. So I was ticking along and I was just running around. I was busy being busy. And so I just started from scratch, focused on 100 Club, focused on Global Rally, set my goals, did a 7-day plan. Never done that. Never done a dream book. I'd never done a 7-day plan. And a who do you know list. And I started at the top instead of cherry picking. Any of this ring a bell? Cherry picking, that one, oh no, they won't be interested. That one, oh no. Instead of doing that, I just started at the top, worked my way down. Had a launch, had 2 launches. People like me don't do things like that. And so I had to get over myself, just did everything that you hear and did it consistently. And in the January, in fact, when January 2000 to March, January 2000 on New Year's Day, I spoke to 35 people that I'd spoken to in the year before about the business. And then I spoke to 15 people a week on the telephone consistently all the way through January. And so that was 94 people. That was more people than I'd spoken to ever in the business. And by the end of January, nobody joined. And so I rang Jane and I said, you said it'd work, and I'm no good, and you're no good, and nothing's no good, and it only works for other people, and it never works for me, and I threw up and to my upline, and she said, just keep going. And so in February I carried on, and because I was talking to 15 people every single week, I started to talk to 17 or 19. Because the trouble with this business is, the less you do, the harder it is. Once you start doing it, it becomes natural. And the more you do, the better you get. And so another 60 minimum. It was over 70 in the February, and it's only a short month. So by the end of February, one person joined just to use the products for themselves and their family. And I was going for a flipping flying start incentive. And then in March, I carried on. Well, I didn't. At the end of February, I rang Jane and said, "You're rubbish, I'm rubbish, everybody's rubbish, this business doesn't work, I don't know what I'm doing wrong, and da-da-da-da-da. And do you know, I used to be a director of a company, and flipping heck, and this is flipping hard." And on the 5th of March, I went to the business presentation and 5 people joined. On the 10th of March, I went to the business presentation and another 5 people joined. And by the end of March, I'd sponsored 13 people, and I was sponsor of the month. Thank you. Thank you. And I've still got a wonky plaque in my office. It's wonky because it's all slipping off. It must have been stuck on a piece of wood and it's all wonky. But that showed me that those 13 didn't come from March. Oh, because my other problem was I thought I don't want to sponsor too many people in case I don't have time to work with them. Jane said, sponsor them, then we'll worry about working with them. So of that 13, they came from all that work. And the 13 that joined, did they all start at once? No. 1 got pregnant, 2 went on holiday, 3 got flu. They don't all start at once. 1 took 3 weeks to open a box. It's just about the consistent activity. And that's when I learned that you just got to focus on the activity and you've got to let go of the result. And if you do the daily activity, and I've seen this with people so often, that they do the activity, you get excited, particularly after a success day, we go back, we make a goal, right, this is going to be different, we're going to be really different, and we do it for a week, and maybe 2, and maybe 3, maybe 4, nobody joined yet, because those 4 weeks feel like 4 months. We're now doing what we should have been doing before, and it's still not working. And then 8 weeks, and I've seen people quit just before it's starting to take effect. And that's the key. If those of you with teams will know, again, an incentive, you need to do 4 CCs in most of the incentives. You don't have to for the one coming up. Don't tell anybody I told you that. So the one coming up in January to March, you don't even need to be 4 CC active. I'm going to keep that a secret from my team personally, so don't tell them. If you're in my team, don't share it. But normally you have to be 4 CC active every month. And people don't do their 4 CCs in month 1 because they think they can't achieve the incentive. And then we've got to month 3 and they'd have qualified. They've done everything, but they didn't do 4 CCs in month 1. If you believe you can, you're halfway there. That's the truth. Does that help? Good. Any other questions? No? Well, thank you for joining me on my pod. I can allow you to go early and get a cuppa. That's my husband. He's a fan. Whooping. Pardon? There you go. You see what he knows who's cooking dinner tonight. Yeah. I forgot to say that actually Alan joined on January 2000. Instead of just supporting me by telling me what to do. He didn't know anything, but he just told me what to do. And then in January 2000, got involved. I remember New Year's Day, ringing those 35 people. And I said to him, right, you need to do this, this, and this. And he went, it's New Year's Day. I went, work for yourself now, love. Off you go. Thank you.